All right, yes, it's a public holiday, June 12, 1993. Okay, I know it's not 1993, it's 2017, but it's a reminder of those events of June 12, 1993. For those who are old enough, I'm sure that memories of the election and events that followed thereafter will remain indelible. And for those who are not old enough, history will tell you that whatever civil rule or democracy that Nigeria enjoys today, the foundation was laid on the 12th of June 1993 when Nigeria had what remains today the freest and the fairest election in our history. Dele Ayodo is my name.
And I am Tobi Joseph. Just like Dele said, today is a very special day, the 21st anniversary of that 1993 election. That has been adjudged as the freest and fairest in the issue, and of course, in the history of in the history of our nation, rather. And of course, you want to look at the different issues that are already heating up the polity presently. You have the agitation for the sovereign state or Republic of Biafra by some groups in the southeast. You have IPOB, the indigenous people of Biafra, and you also have MASOB, the movement for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra. Even though some may say that these two groups are not really aligned or united when you talk about starting the common front for the Indigo. But of course, the agitation is on. You also have a coalition of youth groups in the northern part of the country issuing quick notice or ultimatum for Indigo to leave the north and go and form their Biafra, since that is their agitation. That has even heated the polity more than anything in recent time because of the obvious effect that will have, not only on the polity, but also on governance, on the peaceful coexistence of the different ethnic nationalities in the country, and of course, questioning the fabric of the nation itself, and of course, the indivisibility of Nigeria as a nation. That has been called to question once again. The issue of restructuring has been at the vanguard when you talk about the clamor for restructuring of the country. That is not limited to any particular region, because you've had even some eminent northerners calling for restructuring of Nigeria because of this growing agitation of secession and, of course, division here and there. The South Southerners are also at the vanguard of restructuring, issues of resource control, fiscal federalism, and the likes. The Southeasterners are also united in that front. And of course, the Afeni Ferry, the group supposedly speaking for the Yorubas, are also saying that this is the only way forward. Restructure Nigeria or you forget about it. Is that the way forward? All can you say they are very well connected to the issues that we are looking at today when we are celebrating June 12, 1993? Are this the fundamental issues, the challenges that Nigeria has been grappling with for years, and are this the way forward? The issue of restructuring, should it be by referendum? Should it be incorporated in the ongoing constitutional amendment, which is being carried out by the lawmakers at the National Assembly? These are all pointers. These are all way forward, as some have said it. These are way forward that we can actually explore and see if this will eventually get us to the shore and, of course, land safely. We have someone in the studio who is very qualified to look at all these issues, a former House of Representative member in the National Assembly, a member of the 7th Assembly, to be precise, Honourable Adekunle Adeyemi. You're welcome to the Daybreak Show.
Thank you, Dele. Thank you, Ayodo.
Okay, let me just start quickly. Interestingly, Honourable Adeyemi is also a lawyer.
Yes.
So I will start my question from that point, Honourable Adeyemi. There is argument front and backward over whether the National Assembly will consent to changing the constitution and then permitting a restructure or referendum as one of the basis for solving the problems in this country. What's your opinion about this thing?
Well, I thank you. I'm not going to preempt the National Assembly. Members of National Assembly were elected to represent their people in various constituency, and it depends on what they agree on or what they will agree on, because it's an arm of
No,
government.
sorry, Honourable Adeyemi, this argument over whether the National Assembly will agree to tinker with major areas of the constitution. You know, we always say it's a constitution given to us by the military, and that there are some major areas that needed to be changed. It's not new. When you were in the House of Representatives, it was on.
Yes.
That's why I asked that question. The feelings usually when you are in and out may be different. So that's why I asked if you think the National Assembly will agree, because the story we'll hear is the everything about law constitution has been vested on the National Assembly, no other group.
Yes.
That's the argument when people talk about referendum to decide whether the constitution was good for us or not. So that's why I'm asking that question. What's your opinion
Let me
argument?
take it from this angle. You did mention that the constitution was given to us by military. Yes, I agree, but it has been amended severally. Let me put it that way. There has been an amendment here and there. Some aspects of the constitution have been amended even before now. And I want to believe that if truly the National Assembly, if they have the interest of our people in mind, they should be able to, listen to our people and go ahead with other areas that needs to be amended.
Now, the other story usually told is if June 12 was allowed to stay, do you think all this problem about agitation, secession, ethnic independence, and all these things, do you think we will have surmounted it? Because 1999, when the first civil to civil handover, that was tension. People thought it was going to be a difficult thing for a civilian government to hand over to conduct an election. We passed through that stage. Do you think if we had that stability from 1993, all these problems will have disappeared?
Oh, yes, I want to believe that if we have allowed June 12 to stay, some of our problems will have been addressing them one by one. And even if we have not been able to address all these problems, at least majorly or some of the major problems will have been addressed. I mean, we will not still be talking about some of the problems that we're having today if we had really allowed June 12 to stay, because there will have been some trial and error, and it's that is important when it's come to governance. There are some things you are allowed to work, some that is not working. Maybe when you give it a try, it will work. So if we had allowed June 12 to stay, we would have been, in my own opinion, would have been at another level. We will not be talking of some of the things that we are talking now.
Okay, when you look at Project Nigeria, Honourable, what would you identify as the major issues that are inimical to our growth, to our development as a people and as a nation, especially those things that threaten our unity?
Well, we need good governance. I think we lack that, and there's need for us to always sit down and, think very well about the people that we put in the helms of affairs. It's very, very important.
When you talk about the people, good governance, of course, is a bit general. When you talk about the people we put into office, that also comprises of people like you who have occupied positions in another arm of government. You're talking about president, vice president, governors, senators, and House of Rep members, even chairmen of local government and councillors. So you see that it's a very long list. Now, this to some people is like you're living cancer and you're trying to cure eczema. There are some fundamental and foundational issues that are inimical to our growth. Can you please identify those things that you think is the problem of Nigeria that is causing these agitations?
Like I just told you, once there's bad leadership, I will still insist, bad leadership, and it starts from the type of election that we have.
Yes.
I'm talking about sincerity of our leaders and the followers too.
What is the role of the followers in that process?
That we do not subject our leaders into accountability.
How do we do that?
If if you as a Nigerian is trying to ask from the leader, please account for all this and this and that, you will see some of our people saying, why you are condemning our leaders? They will want to see it from your own perspective. But if all of us join hands and talk about accountability
and question the leadership,
we must talk, ask them questions.
All right, yes, Daybreak Show, Rock City 101.9 FM. This June 12 holiday, remembrance of that landmark election. We are here looking at its correlation and the current agitation by different groups in the country for a breakaway Nigeria. Let's take this short music break. We'll be back on the program. Yes, thanks for still being there. Daybreak Show, Rock City 101.9 FM. The city is Abeokuta. This is the voice of the people this morning, looking at the correlation between today's event and yesterday's event. I'm talking about the current agitation for separatism in the country and the election of June 12, 1993. We have with us Honourable Adekunle Adeyemi, and we've also been joined by Mr. Goke, Rauf. Good morning. Morning.
Good morning.
Okay.
Well, I thank you very much for that question. Let me say that the agitation that we have today is not something that, of course, a lot of Nigerians were not expecting. Unfortunately, the leadership of the nation over the years have continued to actually pretend that the need for doing things that will make the agitations actually go down, they pretended that it was not necessary. Now, when you look at the way that the agitation is actually going, you will find out that it is a product of two fundamental problems that Nigeria always had: the issue of religion and the issue of ethnicity. And of course, ethnicity and religion are not things that ordinarily should actually separate us. But the leadership, the political elite, have always taken advantage of the nature, the multinational, multi-religious nation of the nation to actually better their own personal and individual laws. Now, if you look at June 12 itself, you will find that if we had actually allowed MK Abiola to actually come to power, we probably would have actually solved some of the problems. Because one, you had a Muslim ticket actually being actually used by MK Abiola and the SDP, which actually presented MK Abiola and Kingibe at that time. And also, if you also look at the victory of MKO, you also find that there were only two states where MKO did not have 1/3. The two states were Kebbi and Sokoto. Across the north, in fact, in Kano, which was the hometown of
The NRC candidate.
the NRC candidate, Bashir Tofa, MKO won. And that tells you that, of course, at that point in the history of Nigeria, we were prepared to actually jettison ethnicity. We were prepared to jettison religious differences. But we did not. But this was not allowed to actually happen. Why? Because even the calculations, you see, what happened at June 12 was a miscalculation on the part of the ruling elite at that time. You see, while Babangida and the members of the, was it PRC then?
FRC.
FRC at that time actually came up with NRC and SDP, one from a little to the right of the center and a little to the left of the center, that they actually coined it. We find that they had thought that the Muslim ticket of SDP will actually do them in. And to that extent, of course, they were expecting that, of course, Tofa would actually win the day. But unfortunately, Nigerians were ready to actually defy or look beyond ethnicity, look beyond religion, look beyond religion particularly. And of course, so it was that miscalculation that led to the annulment of June 12 in the first instance. The miscalculation, because they thought that, of course, the Muslim ticket would actually not work for SDP. It worked, and we now can see what happened. So today, you also find that all the crises that we have are predicated on two major things: ethnicity and religion.
Dr. Rauf, let me ask Honourable Adeyemi. He just mentioned it, religion and ethnicity. That's a major problem in this country. 2014 National Conference, this actually played out openly. It was apparent when decisions are to be taken, you agree on the point of your religion and ethnic group. That's the line in which the debates went on. We have an institution called the National Assembly, which you were fortunate to be a member. How does this play at the National Assembly? Religion and ethnicity. Do you see yourself from that group? Do you because people have also accused that group of people, legislators, are not being nationalistic?
Well, I I want to tell you right here that at the National Assembly level, we do not play politics or take decisions based on religion and ethnicity. However, if we had allowed the decisions of confab to come as a way of executive bill, I think some of the problems, political challenges that we're having today will have been solved. In fact, it will have even helped the issue of constitutional amendment at the national level, at the National Assembly, because eminent personalities that gathered at the confab did a very good job, by highlighting some of these problems, which I believe if we had allowed it to come as an executive bill for us to work on, we will not be talking of some of the things that we are talking today.
Dr. Afuru, interestingly, 1993 to 1998, the announcement was made, I think, on the 20th or 21st of June, and immediately the crisis began. It never went away until 1998. But the battle, in quote now, the battlefront was in the southwest. It was in the Yoruba land. The other regions, let me use the 6 regions now, were never really keen on going along to fight that war at that point. Now, today, the Southwest seems to be sitting down aloof and looking at the other regions too, the other groups, doing their own battle. Is the Southwest not also guilty of playing that ethnic card in this regard? Because some of the other people agitating will say, yes, our points are right. We have the right for self-determination and then resource control. So are the Yorubas not also playing the ethnic card now and looking at the other people?
Well, let me say that, of course, it will be difficult for any ethnic group within the Nigerian enclave, as it is today, not to actually once in a while fall back and say, after all, we also constitute a group. that may be difficult. But it leads to a very critical question. Do we see ourselves as Nigerians first before we begin to see ourselves as Yoruba, Igbo, and all of that? And the answer is no. The answer is no, and you cannot. You can
Yeah,
also.
but naturally, that's the first thing. You cannot be a Nigerian if you are not a Yoruba, or you are not an Ishekiri or an Idoma. You cannot be a Nigerian.
And that is the critical problem. That is the critical point. You see, the American will see himself as an American first, and they talk about
Because they don't have tribes.
God bless America. But of course, in Nigeria, you see, if you say they don't have tribes, Nigeria has about 250 nations, whereas India has over 200, over 1,000, 1,200. Now,
Dr. Abu, Honourable, sorry, I know you are going to make your point, but I just want to drop this because this argument, each time it comes, people want to um, look at it as it favors you. Let's look at the Southwest. Ekiti state remains a different state from the Southwest simply because there are no tribes. Everybody there is an Ekiti person. So why do we blame people who looks at themselves first as from coming from so ethnic group? Because that's the what makes Ekiti a little different from other states, particularly in the Southwest. So every Ekiti is an Ekiti man. There is no Ijebu, there is no Yewa, there is no Remo, there is no Iwo, there is no Ife, there is no Modakeke. So why are we blaming those who see themselves as coming from an ethnic group? That's my question. Should they be blamed?
If you are talking about Ekiti, I want to believe that when the states were being created, it used to be Ekiti and Ondo. So Ondo was carved out. So the whole
Ekiti was carved out.
Ekiti was carved out. So the whole Ekiti was just became an entity on their own. While Ondo was there too. But in the case of Ogun State, or Western region, when Ogun State was carved out, Ijebus, Egbas, and
No, the point I'm making is, do you think those who see themselves and defend their ethnic group, do you think they are wrong to do that? Which some people say no, they are not, because like I said, you are Nigerian first, because you are from so ethnic group.
But there is need for us to see ourselves as Nigerian first, like in Israel. An Israeli sees himself as an Israeli. Is a nation, and it's really helping them a lot. So let us see ourselves as a Nigerian first.
Well, you see, it may not be wrong when you look at it from pedestrian point of view, but when you look at it from the nation building point of view, it may be wrong, and it is why we are where we are. But in any case, we cannot blame anybody for actually looking at himself from the ethnic point of view first, because that is the problem started with if we actually the creation of Nigeria as a nation. The amalgamation itself did not help Nigeria in the first place. For example, before the amalgamation of 1914, there were nations. I know that there was an Eba nation. I know that there were other nations all over the place. But of course, what they did was to simply just bring everything together. And when you look at the clause that was within the amalgamation, you also will understand that, of course, the Oyinbos knew that that what they put up was a contraption. They said that after 100 years, we were at liberty to sit down and rearrange, take decision on whether we wanted to go ahead or we don't want to go ahead. But unfortunately, the political elite in the nation have not actually helped matters. They have not. I don't want to actually single out a particular ethnic group, but the truth is that over the years you'll find that Nigeria has been run by, I don't want to use the word cabal, but that's what it looks like. If you remember, during Shagari era, you remember a few things happened, 1979 to 1983. And what are those things? At a point, MK Abiola that we're talking about today wanted to become the national chairman of NPN. And Umaru Diko came out to say NPN was not for sale to the highest bidder. And of course, obviously, he knew what he was doing, because MKO was actually gunning for the national presidency and all that. But he was annoyed, and because he was annoyed, and of course he simply got pulled out. Something happened. A few things happened that I think will actually help us in understanding the quality of Nigeria as a nation. At that time, if you look at the setup in the army, you find that it was made up of mainly the leadership was made up mainly of the northerners. If you look at the leadership, you have Wushishi was the chief of army staff. You have Muhammadu Buhari was GOC 3rd Armored Division Jos. Major General Ibrahim Babangida was director of staff duties and planning, and General Bako was brigade commander.
Alani Akinade was chief of army staff,
and of course Lieutenant General Jabi was chief of defense staff at that time.
Alani Akinade was chief of army staff.
And if you also look at, you find that Alani Akinade, as it is today, has chosen to be part of the other side, the populace. Is more of a populist person. And what do you have? These people, now seeing what was on, because they wanted to actually take over power, they knew that the nation was going adrift. What they did was to even approach Abiola himself for logistic support. He gave them, and they took over. And when they came back, we began to talk about corruption, the nation was going and all of that. And since then, you find that the thing had been tilted toward the north on regular basis.
All right, quickly, because we have to take a break. This is for the two of you. We have to take the break for them, but this is for the two of you. You talk about the need to build a nation through nationalism, nationalistic ideas, and then dropping ethnic jingoism. Should we then say it's right to continue to single out and celebrate June 12th? Because this appears to the other group of people as a Southwest problem. The two of you.
Well, the way I see June 12th, I will liken it to an Ogbanje. It will keep on reincarnating. And just like Abiola himself told us before he was picked up, he said, and I would like to quote, as the midnight marks the end of the day, it also marks the beginning of another day. So we should continue to remember June 12th, because it was a day that Nigerians decided.
So despite the fact that the other regions, 5 out of 6,
honestly,
refused to go.
We should continue to remember June 12th.
I think that there is some kind of gang up. And whether we like it or not, if we stop in the Southwest, then of course the thing might go into extinction in the first instance. There is a bigger problem. There's a bigger question to ask. Should Abiola and June 12th be actually subjected to a local thing? The answer is no. And if you listen to Atiku yesterday, he said Abiola should be immortalized. June 12th should be immortalized nationally. And that means that, of course, there is a need for the nation, the nation itself, the leadership of Nigeria, to do something about it. Once the federal government immortalizes Abiola, and of course it will stop being an ethnic thing. And to that extent, of course, I think that, of course, they will be doing Abiola a lot of good. They will be doing the Southwest a lot of good. It is not enough to think that because when Abiola died, we gave our international government to Egbaman, and of course when we wanted to have it, we also gave the presidency to the Southwest, to another kinsman. It goes beyond that. We must have a sense of history. We must not consign a very important national history to the Southwest. So we must go beyond actually looking at celebrating June 12th in the Southwest. We must immortalize Abiola, immortalize June 12th, so that of course we see it as part of Nigerian history rather than part of history of the Southwest.
We've been there. It's Rock City 101.9 FM, Daybreak Show, Citizens Forum of events in Nigeria, particularly those who have never witnessed the war. Maybe we should start from that. We have Dr. Goke Rauf and Honourable Adekunle Adeyemi here with us. Dr. Rauf, is that correct that this set of people who wants a breakaway Nigeria are those who really do not understand the history and do not know what war means, or the agitation is simply out of reality?
Yeah, let's look at who are the ones agitating. Who are the arrowheads?
Mostly is the use from the two sides, the north, the east.
The east.
Yeah.
So when you look at it historically, you may want to say that most of them did not have did not have an understanding of how the war started, what it was, and
But
of
they will
course,
have read the history and been told stories.
and ordinarily, one would have also thought that they would have read the history. But when you look at the fact that, of course, even history has been expunged from the curriculum of Nigeria, you want to ask yourself, how far, how well can we say they actually understand history? But then, these people who are agitating, you find that they have their own selfish interest too. Look at the canons of this world and the rest of them. There's a trend among the agitators. They begin to agitate, and with time you find them actually aligning with the political leadership. At the end of the day, they see them. When they have actually been settled, they go and relax. And that has been the trend. But the way things are going, it looks like more people are actually buying into this idea of agitation. More people are buying into it. And so many of the people that are actually buying into it they don't think deep. For example, if the Igbos now go all out to say, okay, and what we want Biafra. What happens to those who have actually invested so much in the southwest, in the north, in the other part of the country? What happens to them? What exactly do you expect to be the reaction of the other groups? And that is why today you have the northerners saying, okay, leave our place. If you leave, something will happen, agitation. And then on the heel of that, you had the Niger Delta people, they call themselves Rondel. They have actually also come out to say that they call them the region of the Niger Delta. And that's what they call themselves. And they say that, of course, they don't even want to align with anybody, not even with the East. They want to be on their own. Edo Delta and the rest of that are actually issued statements. And it keeps on going like that. Just yesterday or the day before, so I read in the papers today, Dr. Okuromo also asked for people in the north to come back home because
Southwesterners
to come back home. So you see this agitation going going in a direction that may not be in the interest of development of the nation. And why are the Okoromos and the rest of them saying come back home? Because they have that advantage in terms of understanding what actually happened during the war, in terms of understanding the repercussions of what it may likely happen. God forbid, if there's any war in Nigeria, it is going to affect the entire West African coast, because the population that we have is so large that if we choose, if there's war and we decide to go and take refuge in some of these small countries, we are likely to overrun them. So it's not going to be good for Nigeria, and it's not going to be good for even for Africa, as it were. And the world is also seeing that. So the effect is not going to be good for the nation, for Africa, and of course for the whole world. So,
Honourable Adekunle, the 2014 National Conference recommendation, why do you think it's difficult for the National Assembly to work on this? Well, a lot of people still believe that some of the recommendations will solve all these problems.
Well, like I said the other time, the executive arm of government, I mean the presidency, should have issued an executive bill. They should have come by way of executive bill and send it to the National Assembly, and that was not done. Possibly, if that has been done, maybe by now, with all these, some of these issues will have been addressed.
And what do you think the National Assembly can do at this point?
The present government should revisit the recommendation.
You don't think it's political?
Well,
I mean, the recommendation itself.
No. They will look at it. The National Assembly will look at it. I mean, and Ashwaju Ahmed Tinubu opposed the decision. I mean, the APC was in the opposition then. I mean, with the reality on ground now, there's need for our party and our government, this is my own opinion, to look into it. We are now in government. I want to believe so. I want to believe.
Well, I would think that, of course, his position is not likely to have changed. Do you know why? Because the issues that he raised that had to do with representation, the people that actually were selected, were they actually
True
true
representative of the
representative
people.
of the people? That's the thing. How were they selected? How were they? And of course, there was also the issue of no-go area. These are some of the things that actually so many Nigerians reason that so many Nigerians said, of course, what that confab came up with might not be good enough for the nation. And to that, in that regards, I wish that the nation, the leadership of the nation, will come to that point where they will allow restructuring discourse to actually come up.
All right, we have to let you be a part of it at this point, get you engaged via the different means of communication. Of the comments from our listener.
Well, let me just react to the one that is personal to me first.
Okay, who wants to find out if you're a member of APC?
Yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. I'm a member of APC.
All right. Okay, Dr. Rauf.
Yeah. Emeka asked, spoke about neglect of some states as part of the problem that we have in Nigeria. The truth is that I don't think there's any state in Nigeria that is not neglected. The leadership, the political leaders in this country don't have the love of the nation at heart, and of course they don't actually love the people. What by the time elections are coming, you see them coming around to the people in the rural areas are even the worst. So it's not as if any of the state is particularly not neglected. Unfortunately, the federal government is not even helping matters. So, but when we sit down to dialogue, when we sit down to actually look at how we want to live together, then some of these issues will be resolved. That's why I keep saying that there's a need for dialogue. Restructuring is it. Except we actually do this, we may not get anywhere. So because we may not get anywhere, that's a simple truth. And it is because we have refused to actually accommodate and tolerate others in charting the way forward for Nigeria that we are seeing all this pocket of agitation from left, right, and center. So before this thing gets to that point where peace will be unattainable, it is important for us to actually sit down. Let us look at what we can do to actually make Nigeria work. That is important. Then he spoke about why did Babangida annul the election. So many reasons. We spoke about the fact that they never expected even the Southerner to even get it in the first place. It was a miscalculation. That was there. That was also the issue of the man himself wanting to actually continue. It's not easy to really want to leave power, particularly when you were not elected into position. People who are elected find it difficult to even leave. Let's not to talk about somebody who used the power of the gun to actually get there. It could be part of what the problem are. And somebody spoke about Nigeria would have been Islamized if MK.
I think all those ones are in the realm of conjecture.
That's in the right.
Yeah, all the others, whether he supported Uncle, whether he
supported.
Yes. Let's leave those ones.
Those ones are in the realm of conjecture. That's the thing. Okay. And that somebody said current system does not actually recognize effort towards nation building. That of course is part of the things that we are discussing here. That the nation building is important, is critical, and of course all of us must put our hands on deck to ensure that of course we build the nation. And we will need the leadership, the political elite to actually provide that opportunity for Nigerians to actually move forward. That's about that. And somebody spoke about military arrangement, that we are not in democracy. It may not be far from the truth. And because if you look at the National Assembly, you have so many soldiers there. If you look around, even the president himself is an ex-soldier and all that. They have a way, the Nigerian military people have a way of actually putting themselves in the right places. And that is to be expected in a country where the military had ruled for over 20 years, talk about 26 years or so. Then of course they were used to it. They grew up inside not inside the barracks now.
Mhm.
They grew up in military
All
prison.
right,
That is
we'll return to this. But quickly, Honourable Adeyemi,
Then let
will
me,
it be right to say these are dictators? Will it be right to treat them as criminals?
well, I will advise the government to try as much as possible to invite them and listen to them. You know, Chief Obasanjo also said government should try and listen to them. Um, I also want to say something. Let us not forget about the reparation move that Chief Abiola made when he was alive. And even the issue of debt forgiveness, it was Chief Abiola that started it. That all those things that were carted away by the white, the Oyimbos, that they should try and
Return them.
return them and forgive our debts.
All right, 08098687344 and
whatever we're going to really agree on must be decided by all of us. So there's a need for us to sit down and look at the pros and cons of all kinds of systems that we want to put forward. Then we can agree. This is what we want. The need to sit down and talk is important. Nobody, let us not allow one person to say this is the way to go. Let us all sit down and agree on the way to go. That is my take on that. But on the issue of whether Okuromu should be jailed and all of that, I beg to disagree. I think that there is more to this. For example, the only person that had suffered in this is Kano. What happened to Abu Abdullahi? If he's saying that this one should be jailed, what happens to the Arewa youths? What have they done about them all this while? And that is to actually, that should be linked to the question you asked the other time. Should we actually criminalize it? Ordinarily, issues like this fall within the range of national security issue. But now it has gone beyond. We must look beyond the national security matters. We must look at national development. We must look at actually really put together, and that is why we may not actually criminalize it as totally, but actually
all
put
right,
that to the top.
Honourable Adeyemi, your final thought. Or maybe you can try and in 30 seconds give us why do you think why do you think somebody like Obasanjo refused to recognize June 12?
Well, I won't be able to speak for Chief Obasanjo. I mean, he used to be our president. I, I wouldn't know why he has decided not to put June 12 as a democracy day. The answer I want to believe is known to Baba.
Do you have an answer, Dr. Rauf? Or can you help Baba out?
I don't think I should help him out. I would rather say that, of course, if he has any opportunity because of his position, he should actually use it to immortalize MKO. It is important for Nigeria.
And I'm Dele Ayodo. I say God bless you all. God bless Nigeria. God bless Rock City.